Hello, guys. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing good today. And I'm glad to bring you this video for today. And this is our continued video on data engineering series if you have been following us regularly. And I welcome you all to this video. And you all know the routine what you have to do. Grab a cup of coffee. And if you have the habit of taking the notes, please feel free to take a note and whatever comes up in your mind, what are the key points that I'm trying to address, please have it noted so it helps you in your learning as well. And before we jump to our video, who are we? We are Data Valley, the fastest growing edtech company of 2025. And if you're wondering what we do as a company, we provide you support in IT solutions, trainings, and placement as well. So, what do I mean by IT solutions? Let's say you have a company and you need a talent pool of people who can take out the business use case or the requirement immediately. Yes, we do have a talent pool of people who are skilled enough and who can take your job from day one itself. So that is our IT solutions part. And if you're here for learning, yes, we provide you with training support as well. And training comes in different domains of subjects like data engineering, data science, data analyst, Selenium, Java developer, SQL developer, Python developer, software engineer, men stack developer, web developer, UI UX designer. So pretty much, whatever the hot topic is right now in the industry, we take classes in regards to that, so that you all get placed, and that is the main motto of our company, to get you progress in your career. So feel free to check out about our trainings and the duration, whatever you need an idea about what subjects do we teach, what modules do we cover. So feel free to check out those information from Datavalley.ai, which is our website, address. Also, the website link is provided in the description as well. So feel free to click on them and you will be taken to our website. And talking about the placement, yes, all your trainings come up with 100% placement assistance. So once you have enrolled for our company, you do not have to worry about getting placed somewhere, because we will provide you with 100% placement assistance. How the interviews will be done, how you need to go prepared, and we also suggest you the locations where the interviews are happening. So it's pretty much all about your career, how you can get most out of it, and how you can get most out of our company as well. We are here to do service, and I wish you good luck in taking most from our service as well. And myself, Franklin, I've almost got 3+ years of experience as a data engineer, and I'm happy to bring this video to you. And this is all about knowledge sharing. As I used to say in my previous videos, it is not just about just sharing some video and conducting some live sessions, but it is from a network of people who have been to the interviews regularly, who are in the positions like lead engineers, senior engineers. So this is all a combination of knowledge from different people, especially the data engineers. Okay, so I hope this, the complete package helps you to get your data engineering interview successful. All right. And today we are continuing our 12th video of this data engineering series. And if you remember, even in our previous video, we covered a topic in relation to AWS Glue, right? But one thing that is different to the previous session and this session is that in our first session, we pretty much talked about the basics, the fundamentals of Glue. How does the glue components work together? What are the glue components or in actual in existence? So we pretty much covered about all the fundamentals and basics. So to go a little bit higher or to go a bit advanced, today we are covering the practical application and ETL design using the AWS Glue. Okay, so we are pretty much stepping up to one more level, and today we will be talking about how you design using an AWS Glue. What are the practical applications? What are the common and practical ways to handle a situation? These are the things that matter in your interview, right? Because in your interview they are not going to ask you what is AWS Glue, because that even a beginner can answer, but they want professionals, they want people who can handle everything technically. They do not want theoretical people. Let me be honest. Or even ask yourself, if you have a company, would you hire someone who knows just what is what? No, isn't it? So you need a guy who speaks practically and technically. So today we are pretty much covering not a lot, but still a deeper lessons. Okay, so this will teach you about the Glue practical application and how to design ETL jobs and what are the considerations that you need to have while designing your ETL. Okay, so our first question: describe the process of creating an AWS Glue ETL job from source to target. So the question is very simple. I want you to describe a process of how you create an ETL job. We all talk about ETL job, right? What it does the extract, transform, and load. Yes, everyone knows that. But do you know the process of creating it? That's what we will cover. Not just some random topics, but from the source to the target. Okay, from the start to the end, we are going to cover the process in our first question. I'll leave the diagram to the end because this is like pretty much a summary or a little bit glance of what we are learning. So first we will learn about the process. Creating an AWS Glue ETL job involves a sequence of steps to move and process data from a source to a target destination. Yes, we do know, right? AWS Glue is used to transform, extract, and load. And this process involves a sequence of steps. Okay, it's not just about one click and you're done, but it involves a sequence of steps that is essential to connect with your data, to move your data, to process the data, then load the data. So it comes up with a sequence of steps. Now let's cover what are the sequence of steps that you have in creating your ETL job. First, we have the data cataloging. Data cataloging, in other words, what I'm trying to mean here is your source definition. All right, source definition. So, what do I mean in the source definition? First, you need to know what is your source. Before doing the ETL, you need to know what is your source, right? You need to have some idea about the source. So, what do you have to do? You are going to define your source information. For source definition, we have crawlers at first. So AWS Glue crawlers are used to discover the schema and structure of your source data, whether it resides in Amazon S3, JDBC compliant databases, or other supported data stores. So this AWS Glue crawler, what you're going to do is, in our previous video, we learned about the fundamentals, isn't it? So what does a glue crawler do? It crawls through your data store. And by crawling through your data store, it gets the informations like the schema information, table definition, uh, the data store information. So it is going to get a collection of information, right? And then this is sent to the Glue data catalog as a metadata, right? That is where your metadata gets stored as well. So the first part of your data cataloging or understanding your source definition involves using your data AWS Glue crawler. And what your AWS Glue crawler does is that it crawls through your data store, it tries to discover the schema, and then what is the structure of your source data. It tries to learn all those fetches those information. Also, it tries to understand where is the data residing. Is it part of Amazon S3 data lake? Is the data stored in some other JDBC compliant databases? Or you are storing your data in some other data stores? For example, it can be a warehouse. For example, Databricks, you might have your data in your Snowflake. So there are multiple source destination. So first your crawler tries to understand those information, and then what your crawler does is that it creates metadata tables in your AWS Glue data catalog. And what is your AWS Glue data catalog? It is a centralized metadata repository. So that is where all your metadata information gets stored in. And then if you don't prefer using crawler, then you have an alternative as well. The alternative is nothing but you will be creating the table definition manually. All right. So crawlers crawl through your data store and understand the schema definition, table definition, and those kind of information, right? Similarly, what you're doing in your manual table definition is that, so you will be getting to know about your data. So you will try to know about your data. You will try to understand the structure of your table. You will try to understand what are the columns present. You will be trying to understand what is the data type of each column. So it involves a manual work of you understanding your data, and based on those information, you will be trying to define your table definition. Okay. So alternatively, you can manually define tables and schemas within the AWS Glue data catalog if you have a clear understanding of your data structure. I hope that is very clear. So if you prefer the automated way or using a bit of technology, then go for data glue data crawler. If you don't prefer it but you want to have everything manual, then go for manual table definition. Of next, you have your ETL job creation. So what do I mean by ETL job creation? So first you have learned about your source definition, right? So you're using glue crawler or you're defining it manually as well. So that's the choice of yours. And of next, once your source is defined, now you will be using ETL, and now you'll be defining your ETL job creation. And to do that, you have two methods. All right. The first one is AWS Glue Studio, and the second one is scripting method. So what is the difference? When to use when? So when to use what? So talking about the Glue Studio, what you will be doing is you will be defining your Glue ETL job using a visual interface. Okay. So what do I mean by a visual interface? So within your Glue Studio, you will be having multiple options. For example, add a column, remove a column. You might have a particular transformation that you need to do. So you define what kind of transformations you want using a visual interface. So you will be connecting all these transformations that you want together, and then you will be creating your ETL job in a visual format. And it's usually like a drag and drop method. Okay. Or what you can do is you can write custom PySpark or Scala script. So usually you write the uh, glue script in Scala or Python language, right? So PySpark is the most used. So PySpark is nothing but a combination of Spark and Python. So you have to write your custom code in PySpark or Scala script. So two formats. Either you can do it, like a visual representation, or either you can do it programmatically by using Glue script editor. Okay. Okay. And while creating your ETL job, there are certain job configurations that you need to define. Okay. First, the source selection. So you define what is the source, what is the source of the data, what are the tables getting referenced, and what are the tables getting created. So you define pretty much all these kind of information in your source selection. So first thing is source selection for your ETL. Okay, because ETL extract is the first, and where are you going to extract the data from? So you need that information, right? So you define your source. Secondly, the transformations. So you apply various transformations to your data, which includes like filtering, aggregating, joining, schema modifications to meet your target requirement. So based on whatever the choice that you have, okay, the transformations that you prefer, you define all those transformations, and then you have target configuration. So you have source selection, now you have target configuration. You specify the target specific destination for the transformed data, including the data store. So you defined in your source, right, where is your data and what is your type of data that you're looking. Similarly, for your targets or your end, you define what is the data store, the target data store. Okay, what are the transformations am I looking in my data? What is the source of the data? Is that a Amazon S3? Is that a warehouse like Amazon Redshift or a Snowflake? Or if it is some kind of JDBC compliant databases. So you define what is your target source, sorry, target destination. Also, what is the target format? So you define what kind of format you want the data to be stored in. The Parquet, either it can be a Parquet format, can be a ORC format, it can be CSV format, it can be JSON. So it all depends. What format do you prefer? And you can also define the compression techniques. So you have different compressions, right, like gzip, you have snappy. So these are pretty much used widely, so you can select what kind of compression do you prefer for your within your job configuration. Also, you have to define your IAM roles. So you define your IAM role. So what does this IAM role do? IAM role is very important. Okay, first things, the reason is simple. I am is like an access entry security compliance service. Okay? So without necessary permission, without necessary principles, without necessary privileges and access, you cannot do anything in your ETL, including accessing your data, opening your data, reading your data, writing it, transforming it. You know, it's all, even for a basic step, you will be having an IAM role, and this IAM role must have the necessary privileges defined. Okay, and next we have the job execution and monitoring. So you have defined your source, right? Source definition is done. You have defined your ETL program, and now this is where it gets interesting. Okay, it hasn't ended just because I put ETL creation. It hasn't ended. There are pretty much other things that you need to talk or consider while talking about an end-to-end ETL. So the job creation and monitoring. So to make your job run, there are pretty much two methods. You can either do it manually or you can schedule it. Okay, so manual is nothing but where you will be running your job on demand. So whenever you want a job to run, all you do is go select it, and you pretty much define, or you pretty much, whenever you want the job to be executed, you click the button and it runs on demand. Okay, so that is your uh, manual way of setting your job run. But what if I want it to be running on a regular schedule? So that is